Hello, champions, and welcome to another great week. Today we're going to multiply mixed numbers. I know you're going to do a great job. Mr. Smiles knows you're going to do a great job. In fact, he's not just giving you one thumbs up today, he's giving you two thumbs up. Let's go ahead and get started with our video. Let's look at the first do now problem. Kyle bought 2 birthday cakes from the store. He shared them equally with 8 friends. How many cakes did each friend receive? First, what operation is happening in this problem? We're using division in this problem. What is being split up? The 2 birthday cakes are being split up. So how do I write that as a division problem? Well, I'm going to divide 2 divided by 8. When I divide 2 divided by 8, what fraction do I get? I get 2/8. I need to simplify 2/8 to find my answer. What's a number that goes into both 2 and 8? 2 goes into both. So I'm going to divide both by 2. The correct answer to this problem is D, 1/4. Each friend receives 1/4 of a cake. Let's look at the next problem. Use the model to multiply 1/3 times 5. I can see that I have 5 holes that have been split into thirds. I should shade in one piece on each hole. That gives me 5 groups of 1/3. So 1/3 times 5, how would I write that as an improper fraction? Well, 1/3 times 5 is 5/3. Now I need to change it into a mixed number. Remember, to change into a mixed number, I can divide the numerator by the denominator. When I write it as a mixed number, what's my result? Well, 3 goes into 5 one time, with 2 left over, so my answer is 1 2/3. Let's look at the next question. Which statement is not true? The correct answer here is A. 2/7 would equal 2 divided by 7. 7/2 would equal 7 divided by 2. Now let's look at the next one. Convert 7/5 into a mixed number. Remember, to do that, divide the numerator by the denominator. What's 7/5 written as a mixed number? Well, 5 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 5 is 5, with 2 left over. That means 7/5 is the same as 1 2/5. Convert 3 3/4 into an improper fraction. Remember, to convert a mixed number into an improper fraction, multiply the whole number times the denominator. There are 3 groups of 4 pieces. What's 3 times 4? It's 12. Then add the numerator. What's 12 plus 3? It's 15. The denominator stays the same. 3 3/4 is the same as 15/4. A box of goldfish contains 12 packs of goldfish. 2/3 of the packs are cheddar flavored. The rest are pretzel. How many packs are cheddar flavored? Well, that means we need to find 2/3 of 12, or 2/3 times 12. What's 2/3 times 12 when written as an improper fraction? Well, 2 times 12 is 24, and my denominator stays 3. How do I write that as a whole number? Well, 24 divided by 3 is 8, with none left over. So, 8 packs are cheddar flavored. The rest are pretzel. I know there are 12 total packs. 8 of them are cheddar flavored and the rest are pretzel. What operation should I use to find how many packs are pretzel? I need to subtract to find the difference and find the remaining packs. What's 12 minus 8? 12 minus 8 is 4. 4 packs are pretzel. Now let's look at the last question. Miss Way has 1/4 cup of sugar left for baking. She uses 1/2 of that amount for cookies. How much sugar did Miss Way use for cookies? Well, she started with 1/4 and she used 1/2 of that. What operation should I use to solve this problem? When I find a fraction of a number, I need to multiply 1/4 times 1/2. What's the result of 1/4 times 1/2? It's 1/8. Remember, when I multiply fractions, I can multiply the numerators, then multiply the denominators. Today we're going to practice multiplying with mixed numbers. To multiply with mixed numbers, all we need to do is change them to improper fractions first. Let's look at an example. 1 3/4 times 5. So first, I need to change 1 3/4 into an improper fraction. I'm going to multiply 1 times 4. What's 1 times 4? It's 4. Plus my numerator. What's 4 plus 3? It's 7. So I have 7/4. Now I can multiply 7/4 times 5. What's 7/4 times 5, written as an improper fraction? It's 35/4. My last step is to change my number back to a mixed number. When I have 35/4, how do I write that number as a mixed number? Well, 4 goes into 35 8 times. That's 32, with 3 left over. So the answer is 8 3/4. Let's try another. 2 1/3 times 4. How do I write 2 1/3 as an improper fraction? Well, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7/3. Now I can multiply 7/3 times 4. When I multiply 7/3 times 4, what's the resulting improper fraction? It's 28/3. Remember, I multiply my numerator times my whole number, and my denominator stays the same. How do I write 28/3 as a mixed number? Well, 3 goes into 28 9 times, with 1 left over. So my answer is 9 1/3. Now you try one. What's 3 1/2 times 3? Write your answer as a mixed number. Let's see how you did. First, I'm going to change 3 1/2 into an improper fraction. When you did that, what was the result? Well, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7/2. Now I can multiply times 3. What was your resulting improper fraction? 7 times 3 is 21. The denominator stayed the same. 21/2. When I change that into a mixed number, my result is 10 with a remainder of 1, or 10 1/2. I can multiply mixed numbers by fractions the same way. Let's look at the next example. 2 1/2 times 1/3. The first thing I need to do is change 2 1/2 into an improper fraction. When I change 2 1/2 into an improper fraction, what do I get? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5/2. Now I can multiply 5/2 times 1/3. What's 5/2 times 1/3? Well, 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. The answer is 5/6. It's not an improper fraction, so I don't need to change it into a mixed number. Now I can try my next example. What's 3/4 times 2 2/3? Well, 3/4 is already a proper fraction. How do I write 2 2/3 as an improper fraction? Let's see how you did. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 more is 8 over 3. Now I can multiply. 3/4 times 8 over 3. 3 times 8 is 24, and 4 times 3 is 12. When I divide, what whole number do I get? 12 goes into 24 2 times with none left over. So my answer is just the whole number 2. Let's look at another example. 1/2 times 2 2/5. How do I change 2 2/5 into an improper fraction? What improper fraction do I get? Well, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 more is 12/5. Now I can multiply 1/2 times 12/5. When I do that, what's my resulting improper fraction? It's 12 over 10. I can change 12 over 10 into a mixed number. What mixed number do you get? Well, 10 goes into 12 one time. 1 times 10 is 10. When I subtract, I have 2 left over. So I get 1 2/10. But that's not yet a final answer. I can simplify 2/10. What number goes into 2 and 10? Well, I can divide both by 2. When I do that, what's my final fraction? My final fraction is 1/5. So my answer is 1 1/5. Now let's practice multiplying a mixed number by a mixed number. What's 3 1/2 times 2 1/3? First, let's change 3 1/2 into an improper fraction. When I change 3 1/2 into an improper fraction, what do I get? Well, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. My denominator is 2. When I change 2 1/3 into an improper fraction, what do I get? Well, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7 over 3. Now I can multiply. When I multiply 7/2 times 7/3, what's my resulting improper fraction? It's 49 over 6. When I change 49 over 6 into a mixed number, what do I get? Well, 6 goes into 49 8 times. 8 times 6 is 48. And when I subtract, I have 1 left over. So my answer is 8 1/6. Now let's look at another example. 2 1/3 times 2 1/4. First, when I change 2 1/3 into an improper fraction, what do I get? Well, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7 over 3. When I change 2 1/4 into an improper fraction, what do I get? Well, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 more is 9 over 4. Now I can multiply 7 over 3 times 9 over 4. When I multiply 7/3 times 9/4, what improper fraction do I get? Well, 7 times 9 is 63. 3 times 4 is 12. I get 63 over 12. Now I can change that into a mixed number. When I change 63 over 12 into a mixed number, what mixed number do I get? 12 goes into 63 5 times, with 3 left over. So I get 5 and 3 twelfths. I can simplify 3 twelfths. What's a number that goes into 3 and 12? 3 goes into both. When I simplify, what's my final fraction? It's 1/4. So the correct answer is 5 and 1/4. Now you try one on your own. What's 4 and 1/2 times 1 and 3/5? Let's see how you did. When I change 4 and 1/2 into an improper fraction, it's 9 halves. When I change 1 and 3/5 into an improper fraction, it's 8 fifths. When I multiply 9 halves times 8 fifths, I get 72 over 10. 10 goes into 72 7 times, with 2 left over. So I get 7 and 2/10. That's the same as 7 and 1/5. You've done a great job on this video. Now work on the practice problems in your packet until you get further directions from me.